Good evening. I will now call to order the Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. It is now 6:30, and this is the Board of Library Trustees regular meeting. It is, as we said, 6:30. At this time, the Wilmette Public Library District Board of Trustees will conduct a public hearing on the Budget and Appropriation Ordinance. The purpose of this hearing is to provide time for members of the public to comment on the ordinance prior to our Board of Trustees vote on the ordinance. Is there anyone that would wish to comment? All right. Michelle, yes. We'll wait a few minutes in case someone is coming in to make a comment. So thank you for your patience. Thank you, everyone. It is now 6:34, and seeing that we do not have any comment, we will now call the meeting to order. Secretary DiLorenzo, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Trustee DiLorenzo present. Trustee O'Keefe?
Here.
Trustee Senate?
Here.
Trustee Summer? Here. Trustee Fishman?
Here. Thank you. It is now time for any other public comment who have signed the visitor public comment registration form and who wish to address the Board of Trustees may do so here. Seeing none, we'll now move on to our first order of business is to review and approve the draft minutes of the July 16th, 2024 regular board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the July 16th, 2024 regular board meeting minutes as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. We have Trustee Summer approve and Trustee Senate with a second. Thank you. Is there any discussion, please?
No discussion needed.
Corrections or
No corrections.
Changes? No? All right. Seeing none. Secretary DiLorenzo, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Trustee DiLorenzo, yes. Trustee O'Keefe?
Yes.
Trustee Senate?
Yes.
Trustee Summer?
Yes.
Trustee Fishman?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carried to approve the July 16th, 2024 regular board meeting minutes as presented. Thank you. Well, now is a wonderful opportunity that we have here, and we are delighted that Mr. Harold Rabin is here to join us. As a lifelong, my understanding is 67-year resident of Wilmette, and been an avid Wilmette Public Library user. And on behalf of the board, we have a proclamation that I would like to share with you and your lovely family who are here, that we would like to share with you. We've all signed this, and this will be a copy for you. So should I stay here? Or?
Yeah.
Yes, all right, great. The Board of the Library Trustees of the Wilmette Public Library District of Cook County, Illinois. It's a proclamation in honor of Harold Rabin's 100th birthday. Whereas the Wilmette Public Library acknowledges the exceptional milestone achieved by Harold Rabin, who has reached the venerable age of 100 years. And whereas Harold Rabin has been a valued member of our community for 67 years. Whereas throughout his lifetime, Harold Rabin has exemplified the spirit of curiosity and intellectual pursuit that mirrors the value of the Wilmette Public Library. And whereas Harold Rabin has been a lifelong learner, reader, and user of the library. Whereas Harold Rabin has been an active member of the library community, utilizing resources, reading, participating in the library's public programs, and interacting with our staff and other patrons while actively contributing to the community. Whereas the Wilmette Public Library wishes to express its gratitude for Mr. Rabin's enduring dedication to the pursuit of knowledge and unwavering support for our library's mission. It is therefore resolved on this momentous occasion of Harold Rabin's 100th birthday, the Wilmette Public Library Board, all of us, extend its warmest congratulations and heartfelt wishes for continued health, happiness, and many more years of reading and enriching the lives of those around him. Thank you so much. Please do. Do we have a microphone? Or if you-
It's hard to believe that 100 years have gone by, actually. There's one trouble with getting awards like this, because everybody knows you're 100 years old. All my good friends now know that I'm not 80 anymore. I'm 100. But you know, what I remember very vividly, and I'd like to tell you a little story because you may get a kick out of it. My wife and I used to go to the library together, and we used to come here at least once a week or once every other week. And when I used to finish with my books, picking my books, I'd go looking for her. And one day I was looking for her, and I find her among the stacks. And she's got about 6 or 7 or 8 books under her arms. And I'm saying, Nancy, what are you doing? What do you think she was doing? She's reading the ending of every one of the books because she wouldn't take a book out unless it had a good ending. But I remember that so vividly. She never took a book out unless it had a good ending. I want to thank you very much because actually the library has been really a joy to me. And my kids grew up here. You know, they grew up in Wilmette, and to them, they grew up with the library too. And I find it very enjoyable. I can't come as often as I used to anymore because they took away my car, but I try to, I manage. And when I do come, I like to spend a little time here because it's pleasant, and it's not only pleasant, but I know most of the librarians that are here during the daytime, and you know, we say hello to each other, and they're very friendly, and I tell a few jokes, and they laugh, and we have a good time. So I like it. I really do. I find the library to be a very, very enjoyable experience. I thank you very much because I didn't expect this, really and truly. I really didn't. You know, like I said, you get to be 100. What is it? Just another birthday. You know, and you don't realize that you're 100 years old already. And when you get to be 100, you think back and you think of all the lives you've touched on and all the experiences you had. And you wonder about them. Did you do good in this world? Did you do not? Because when you leave, there's only one thing that's going to count. What did you do? How did you make the world a little better? And I hope that I can do my share because I did surgery in my time, and I hope that I did my share.
Well, thank you.
Thank you
My-
very much.
Sorry, I will all remember that. Well, this is for you and to share with you and the family, a proclamation. Again, on behalf of the board, we're delighted. Keep going. Keep coming. And thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this evening.
Thank you very much.
Welcome you and continue to have you come to the library, your family, and spread the good word about the Wilmette Public Library. Tell them. And we're
Better not go out of business.
No,
Not on our watch.
thank you everyone for coming. Thank you.
I talk too much.
No, it's wonderful. I'm going to start reading.
This is the best part of the meeting.
Thank you, Paul. I hope we didn't take up your time.
Oh my goodness. No, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Happy birthday.
No cake. Whew. Okay, everyone, we got a few years to go before our Mr. can say that we have a history like Mr. Raven, but what
Something we can all strive for.
That's right.
very good. All right. Thank you. Let's see. Where are we here? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, John.
We'll now go on to the treasurer's report. Trustee Summer,
Okay.
please. Thank you.
Yep. Good evening. It'll be short. It's the first month of the fiscal year. Just a couple notes. At the bottom of the balance sheet, there's a figure 47,963. That represents the net income for the prior year. And once the auditors have completed their work, this number will be folded into the appropriate beginning fund balances. As Director Austin mentioned, and I said, this is the first month of the fiscal year. There are a number of annual renewals that are paid in the first month, and so there's a couple of accounts such as periodicals, which appear to be pretty high in the budget already, but that is expected year in and year out. On the income statement, the gifts donation amount in July of $13,874, is $200 in general donations, and the rest was generous funding from the Friends for our programming. I want to thank Sandra. They have changed the CD listing to be arranged in order of maturity dates, not rates, which is very helpful when we're looking, as a finance person, looking at the bond ladder when things are coming due. That's a great idea. There's a check for $21,615 to Computer View for computer maintenance, and it's paid quarterly, and I just missed it because it was paid in July instead of June. So usually I would have I looked back. It's usually December, March, June. This was July. And there's also a check to Rails that totaled $28,949. And I looked a year ago, and last year 3 checks were written in July that totaled about the same amount. So this year's check is fairly consistent with last year's. Does anyone have any comments or questions on anything? Is there a motion?
Thank you.
You bet. Is there a motion for approval of the bills and salaries checks detail?
I move approval of the bills and salaries check detail for July 2024 as presented.
Thank you. And is there a second?
I second.
I'm sorry, that was, okay, thank you. Trustee Cox, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Secretary DiLorenzo, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Trustee DiLorenzo, yes. Trustee O'Keefe?
Yes.
Trustee Senate?
Yes.
Trustee Summer?
Yes.
Trustee Fishman?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carried, and to approve the bills and salaries check detail for July 2024 as presented. Thank you. We'll now move on to our action items, and we are going to discuss ordinance number 2024/25-212, the annual budget and appropriation ordinance for the library purposes for the fiscal year 2024-25. The ordinance was passed in tentative form at our July 16th, 2024 meeting of the board. So now I'll turn things over to Director Austin and Treasurer Summer.
I just have a few very short comments.
Please.
As indicated in the narrative, the B&O ordinance authorizes the maximum amount the library can spend during the year. After this is filed with the county, it gives the library the legal authority to spend money for the upcoming year. This does not mean, however, that the library will spend the amounts included in the budget in the B&O. Typically, the library's spending is actually tracked and monitored through the budget numbers that were approved by the board in June, not with this ordinance. As also noted in the narrative, any transfer to the special reserve fund, as well as any special reserve fund projects, will need to be approved by the board before they can happen.
Okay.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Short and
Director
sweet.
Austin?
The only other detail that I would add is, as requested, we did update the estimated fund balance from the previous tentative ordinance. We did go through working with the trial balances that we received from the auditor, who's been working with us concurrently in July, so we had a better estimate of what those funds will look like. And then that information will be updated when the audit is presented to us in October. But we were able to give you a better picture of that than what we've done traditionally, which is citing the previously audited balance, which would be almost a year old at this point. So we're happy that we could update that number and give you a better idea of what those balances are.
Thanks for making that change. I appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments on the ordinance?
The only thing I wanted to comment on, and it was something I took note of as I reviewed it. If you look under Section 6, which is the Special Reserve Fund Capital Improvements, there are 3 different sections. And I'd like the board and the public just to be aware of that is the money that we potentially could spend, but not necessarily that we will agree to spend. So that totals $4.7 million. So as long as all board members are aware of that.
Thank you for that clarification. Great. Any other discussion? Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 2024/25-212, the annual budget and appropriation ordinance for library purposes for the fiscal year of 2024-25? Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of ordinance number 2024/25-212, annual budget and appropriation ordinance for library purposes for the fiscal year 2024-25.
Thank you, Trustee O'Keefe. Is there a second motion?
I second.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Senate. Secretary DiLorenzo, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Trustee DiLorenzo, yes. Trustee O'Keefe?
Yes?
Trustee Senate?
Yes.
Trustee Summer?
Yes?
Trustee Fishman?
Yes, thank you. Motion carried to approve the ordinance 2024-25-212, annual budget and appropriation ordinance for library purposes for the fiscal year 24-25. Thank you. And now we move on to our policy update recommendation. Review and approval of update to policy 9-5.6, the jury duty leave. And Director Austin will walk us through this, please.
Sure. As you know, we did recently have updates to our human resources policy, which included our jury leave policy. We have since discovered that there was some limiting language in that policy. It had just set 2 weeks for jury leave, but there are unusual circumstances where someone might potentially require more time in their service, and it is certainly our obligation and expectation that we would continue to pay staff for their time and their civic duty. So we've amended that language, and that's what's in the packet this evening, is to simply ensure that folks will, staff will be granted their leave with pay for their regularly scheduled work hours that are missed in fulfilling their civic obligation.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Is there any, do we need to have any limitation or any ceiling on that? Or given the nature of trials were just open-ended?
It is our intent to ensure that staff do not lose any of their compensation for their regularly scheduled work hours, and that is why we're recommending the policy that we have before you.
Okay.
Does it apply to full-time and part-time?
It applies to all employees.
And I think this is an excellent change, because I would hope that no employee, part-time or full-time, would try to decline jury duty
Certain.
because of this narrow kind of window. And
I think the policy is reasonable. I think it is our civic duty to have
Right.
jury duty and be a part of that. I think my question just stemmed from if it's a 2-month criminal trial, are we going on a case-by-case basis, versus a 1-day trial? So I guess that's where my question stemmed from. It was just more, will that happen very often? Most likely not.
No.
And so just that is taken into consideration.
good point. But possible, but
Probable,
probable, right?
most likely not.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Or very interesting, so.
Right,
But
right.
no, that was my thought process on that question. 1 day, 2 days, 2 months, just something to be aware of.
Good. Very good, thank you. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the revisions to the policy? I'm sorry, I'll just finish. 9-5.6 jury duty leave, effective August 20th. Motion to approve?
I move approval of the proposed revisions to policy, 9-5.6 jury
Got it.
duty leave effective August 20, 2024.
Thank you. Is there a, thank you, trustee Senate. Is there a second, please?
I second.
Thank you. Second by trustee DiLorenzo. Any other discussion? All right, may we have a roll call, Secretary?
Yes. Trustee Cox?
Yes?
Trustee DiLorenzo, yes. Trustee O'Keefe?
Yes?
Trustee Senate?
Yes?
Trustee Summer?
Yes?
Trustee Fishman.
Yes, thank you. Motion carried to approve policy 9-5.6, jury duty leave, effective August 20th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have our annual, moving on, our Illinois Public Library Annual Report, the IPLAR, for fiscal year 23-24, and Director Austin.
Thank you. In the packet, you will see IPLAR fiscal year 23-24. As I said in my preamble via email to you all, the presentation of the document looks a little bit different this year than it has in years past. Historically, they've shown the past year's data alongside the current year's data in the draft form. For some reason, it doesn't render that way this year. I will provide that feedback back to the state, because I do think that that's a valuable bit of information when we're looking at the provisional data. That said, I did provide you a little bit of overview of some of the statistical information, because that's effectively what this report comprises, is a statistical summary of our performance over the past year. So it also includes an account of our financials, which we're able to compile from our fiscal year close in June, as well as some other legally required information that's at the top of the report. The rest of it's primarily statistical and some narrative detail about how we satisfy certain programs. So the key pieces of statistical data that this report does not glamorously present, but does compile nonetheless. The takeaways that we have this year are that the physical library visits rose by 11% in fiscal year 23-24. The total programs offered increased by 7%, and attendance of those programs increased by 19%. Our collection size decreased by 6%, and as you know, this is actually a good thing as we continue to work towards right-sizing our collections with further reductions in collection size planned for later this year. The combined physical material circulation and digital circulation increased by 9% this past fiscal year. Print circulation was essentially flat, however, so we are kind of seeing that tipping point towards digital. We were just 3,000 items shy of our physical circulation from last year. Our research database usage had increased by 5%. Public computer usage increased by 13%, and last year we saw an 11% increase from the prior year. So that's a remarkable trend and underscores the need for us to have a better public computer area in our space planning goals for this future proposed renovation. Our Wi-Fi sessions were down by 8%, and that's owing in part to the fact that we now have an accept page to join our network. Previous reports of our Wi-Fi usage were really off the charts, but that's because a lot of folks leave their Wi-Fi activated on all their devices at all times, and whenever they're walking through the library, their device automatically connects to the network. So this is more of an accurate reflection of Wi-Fi usage, and it's looking down a little bit, but we're not concerned about that. The numbers are still very strong. And our website visits increased by 5% this past year. So all in all, the numbers are all moving in the direction that we would expect them to be, and we're really quite satisfied with where we're seeing that all land. Do you all have any questions about the IPLAR report? We have one final step that we need to take before we actually file it with the state, and that is the completion of the Secretary's review of our minutes record. And I am not recalling who were the two trustees that we had appointed for that process. But essentially what we do is we go through and we analyze the minutes of all of our meetings, making sure that everything was signed and that all the attachments relative to those meeting minutes are included in the packet. So that is one step that we need to complete before the end of this month when we file the report.
Do the two need to do it at the same time, or can they do it separately?
They can do it separately.
So I could do it. I just can't, I'd have to do it this week.
And we actually have the binder on us this evening if anyone would like to stay and complete that task tonight.
Yeah.
I can do it.
I can
Or
do-
you?
Go ahead.
No, go
did
for it. I've done it too, so.
We all have.
I think everyone's done it at this
We've
point.
all been
yeah.
there, right.
Yeah, so I could do
But-
it tonight or even tomorrow, but I,
Thank
Great.
you, Trustee Summer. And then, that was O'Keefe
I can do
or
it, it's fine.
Senate?
Great.
O'Keefe?
Marion.
Sure,
You said
I will
sure.
do so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so as soon as we've got that task completed, then I will proceed with verifying the numbers one more time, because we always double check from what we've got posted, and then we will proceed with our filing.
I was amazed at the total annual visits under section 14 of 242,730. That's really amazing when you look at that number. It's really impressive.
It is. We're averaging just over 700 people a day coming in here.
Excellent.
A little on top of that, are there, I mean, I know there are there also patrons that never come in but use the library extensively?
That is true.
Yeah, okay.
Because we have extended, particularly post-COVID, we've extended a lot of digital services. And, of course, you know, we also have the locker service.
Yeah.
Lockers, right.
And we do outreach.
And to that point, how many people that I talked with say, well, I only do Libby or ebooks, so they never come in,
Yep.
right? But they are avid readers, and the lockers are very handy also. So you never have to come in if you don't wish to. But we love when people come in and see all of us and see the welcome desk. But good question. Thank you. All right. Any other discussion? Thank you. Then do we have a motion to approve the Wilmette Public Library's Illinois Public Library annual report, IPLAR, for the fiscal year 23-24 as presented?
I move approval of Wilmette Public Library's Illinois Public Library Annual Report, IPLAR, for fiscal year 23-24 as presented.
Thank you, Trustee Summer. Is there a second?
I second.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Cox. Secretary DiLorenzo, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Trustee DiLorenzo, yes. Trustee O'Keefe?
Yes?
Trustee Senate?
Yes.
Trustee Summer?
Yes.
Trustee Fishman?
Yes. Motion carried for the approval of the Wilmette Public Library's IPLAR for fiscal year 23-24 as presented. Thank you. Now moving on to the director's report. Director Austin, please.
Okay, thank you. So first month of the fiscal year, and I've got some statistical and overall reporting to share with you from my report. The library had just shy of 23,000 visitors in July, averaging 735 visitors per day, so a busy summer for us. We welcomed 180 new card holders in July. And if you look at our circulation report, you will see that we currently have 16,383 unexpired registered card holders. That is the highest number of active library cards in recent documented history. Yeah, it is great. So we've taken a number of steps in the course of the last few years to ensure that the data that we're reporting in IPLAR, as well as on a monthly basis, reflects active library cards, cards that are actually in use. Historically, we just kept a list of everyone on record, but we do have an obligation as part of our membership with the CCS consortium to ensure that our database record is clean and that we're only retaining active library cards in our records. We've been around the 14,000 range in past couple of years, and it's nice to see that folks have joined us and they're continuing to use us actively, and that number continues to grow. September is National Library Card Sign-Up Month, so if you don't already have a library card, we're coming to find you. And we'll be at the French Market, the Kenilworth Food Truck Mondays, and we've also established a relationship with Sears School in Kenilworth to register incoming students for cards with either of the servicing libraries of Wilmette or Winnetka Northfield. We already have done this activity with D39 here in Wilmette, and in servicing the primary school in Kenilworth, we're also extending that service this fall as well. We saw strong circulation in July of 59,000 physical items and strong usage of Overdrive with over 16,000 items. And Canopy saw one of its strongest months with a 30% increase in circulation over the prior month. The big activity that's been going on in the stacks, particularly on the lower level, is that our shelving staff are continuing to pull materials that are in need of review for our librarians, and they're backshifting, re-merchandising, and creating new signage to reflect the locations of collections that have been on the move. And they've been taking action in collections in the nonfiction 300s, the large type, and media room collections. And thanks to the weeding that's been taking place on the lower level, particularly in the 700s and 800s, we were able to backshift those collections and move the travel collection, one of our most popular nonfiction collections, from the 900s room over to the area that has historically been the 800s, right at the the bottom of the stairs on the southwest side of the building. We've updated the signage over there, and we've also installed the new shelving at the base of those stairs that was been on order for a number of months and finally came in. So Assistant Facilities Manager Aaron Olson put that display up earlier this month, and we replaced the displays in that area as well. We are experimenting with some merchandising of a power wall in that location, and those collections are flying off the shelves down there. Technical services staff have been doing a great job of managing and absorbing the significant increase in withdrawals that we've been doing as part of their regular workflows. In July, they withdrew 6,000 items. I had previously challenged our librarian team to weed 10,000 items by Labor Day, and they're definitely on pace to meet those marks. They have a number of criteria that they're reviewing to go through and evaluate the collection to ensure that we're right-sizing the collection and retaining the collections that are of the most immediate need and active use of our community. And as a result, the collections that we're showcasing are really shining, and we're starting to drive the circulation on those. The facilities and safety team is supporting those efforts and in collaboration with our book recycling vendor to keep those outs moving and making room on carts for the next round of withdrawals. And all staff are doing a fantastic job of managing the collection maintenance project that we've set forth for them for this fiscal year. In July, the library officially launched its participation in the statewide interlibrary loan service Find More Illinois. Wilmette was one of the #1 libraries in our consortium for fulfilling holds in that service. We fulfilled 47 holds just for outstate patrons. So we're happy that we were able to do that. And we pulled in one item for one of our patrons, one of our staff, who wanted to experiment with that. Our summer reading clubs have only just wrapped this past week, so we'll wait until our official numbers come in and share that in next month's report. But preliminary reporting suggests that this year's program saw higher rates of engagement and finishers than we've had in recent years, and we're really grateful for the continued support of our community in our reading programs, and of course, our friends of the Wilmette Public Library for their sponsorship of our associated programs and incentive prizes. You'll see a range of interesting, exciting, informative, and engaging programs outlined in our department reports this month, including everything from a Taylor Swift escape room, our Donuts and Databases networking series in partnership with the Chamber, with our business community, Culinary Historians of Illinois, two-part culinary program entitled Preserving Family Recipes, dozens of story times, our Wednesday afternoon big shows here in the auditorium with movies, art, magic, and creepy critters, our spy camp, digital photo restoration, an intro to Android, cutting the cable cord, Minecraft Club, beginning French for the traveler, and a bachata dance workshop that attracted a number of folks in the neighborhood who saw the program taking place on the lawn. And there was a lot of other stuff going on in the library as well. The studio was abuzz with activity all month, and patrons of all ages were learning, designing, creating, fixing, and having so much fun doing it all. After all that activity, the studio crew is currently on a short break this week while they perform machine maintenance, engage in professional development and learning, and work on displays, clean, and experiment with their new materials and techniques. Over the course of July, we had all staff participated in cybersecurity training that was facilitated by our IT staff. And the IT team is also working on their continued planning and implementation of our new asset management inventory system, as well as a help desk ticketing system that both the IT department and the facilities teams are going to use with staff to collect help desk requests. Speaking of facilities, we saw the replacement of the sump pumps this month, and we continue to be really impressed with the service of our partners at Hill Mechanical and their service of that project. They really made it a seamless process through what was actually a very rainy downtime for that original system. And then finally, I will draw your note to an article that was written in the North Shore Record. The library was featured with some of our neighboring peers for the programming that we're providing related to our technology services to older adults. So lots of activity happening this past month, and we're really excited about all of those things. Do you have any questions for me?
I have one question. And maybe you talked about this in the last meeting, so my apologies. With the sub pump, is that linked to the BAS system? Something that would maybe notify us if it was failing?
It has its own alarm system. It's not part of the building automation system.
We can link to it.
I'd like to say kudos to all the staff, circulation team that I've seen twice at the Wilmette Saturday Farmers Market. And they had all kinds of great swag that they ran out of Frisbees, I understand. They had the sewing kits, they had sunglasses. It was terrific. So thank you to staff who took their Saturday or took their working time and had a table at the market. It seemed very well received. So that was great. This summer reading club, I participated, and when it was my turn that they could bring out the cart, there were so many great books, thank you to the friends of the Wilmette Public Library, that I had to have them move it over to a chair so I could sit down, take a look, and then peruse. And so many times I couldn't decide. So I hope everyone has had a time in the summer youth services summer reading club. I'm sure was successful. So I enjoyed that. So anyone else have any comments? Well, as always, so much going on. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful. And just briefly, anything, we have committee reports with ILA or Rails, or Trustee Nealon is not here tonight to speak about the intergovernmental, but Director Austin, anything to report?
No report.
Okay.
There's nothing going on intergovernmental.
No,
Not at this
okay,
time.
anyway, in the summer, that would make sense, sure. Okay. We have a folder going around for comments from the, thank you, good, communication comments from our suggestion boxes. And just an information item that we do have 3 seats on our 7-member board of trustees that will be open for the Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 election. All seats will be for a full 4-year term that expires in April 2029. Wow. Seems like a long way away, but we're already here at halfway through the year, 24. So completed nomination papers may be filed on weekdays, Tuesday, November 12th through Monday, November 18th, 2024, between 10 and 5 on our 3rd floor administration. I believe packets are online and or upstairs?
They are.
Yeah, okay.
And today is the first day that you can officially circulate your petitions for candidacy.
Excellent. All right, thank you. Adding that.
I'll also add that the ILA Annual Conference will be held October 8th through the 10th in Peoria, and October 10th is a Thursday, the final day of the conference. There's a special track for trustees. If you're interested, let me know.
Is it in person or virtual?
In person.
Oh, okay. Do they offer any virtual opportunities?
I don't believe there are virtual offerings this year.
Okay. Is there any staff that have been identified to
We're
attend?
still kind of in the process of identifying folks that might attend.
Okay. Sounds good. Any new business? All right. And then, seeing that it is 7:13, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move adjourn the meeting at 7:13.
7:13. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.